bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talkin' Baseball on this Sunday morning as we get ready for Game 3 between the San Francisco Giants and the Texas Rangers. The world champion Texas Rangers, boy, they don't look like it right now, as the Giants have won the first 2 games of this 3-game series, and they go for the sweep today before coming home tomorrow to take on the Houston Astros. Then a day off, and then it's the Angels over the weekend. So this is a good week for the Giants. Believe me, this is a good week for the Giants, and they have won 3 straight. They won the last game here in Arizona in convincing fashion on Wednesday. And then, of course, got the couple of home runs from Flores and the big home run from Conforto on Friday night. And they're getting some decent pitching right now. And I'll tell you again, this is a ball club that can pitch. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care what the analytics say and all that. This ball club can pitch, and when they get a lead in the 6th inning, they do not lose the lead. And that is a sign of a good team, that these leverage guys, if that's what you want to call them, they can bring it home. And they do it. And they've done it in this 3-game winning streak for the Giants as they go for the sweep today against the Texas Rangers. Well, yesterday, a tight game. It was 3-1. And the Giants had their 3 runs within the first 3 innings. And how did they do it yesterday? And I know everybody complains about Austin Slater, and people can't wait to DFA him and get rid of him, and they're talking about it. I know that. But he's a pro. He's a good hitter. He can run. He can play the outfield. He's a major league player. And at this stage of the season, unless you have someone who really can replace him, and they don't right now. Matos is in the minor leagues and probably should be there to get his game together. So Slater's in there. And there's a lefty on the mound, and Slater led off and started off the game with a walk. And then next thing you know, look who comes up, Elliot Ramos. And what can you say? This man is on fire. And fuego, as Raf likes to call him. Really, he's just crushing the ball, and this is not a fluke. He takes his walks. He's covering the plate. He gets a pitch he can hit. I said this last year. I love the guy's bat speed. I said it last year. I didn't think they should send him down last year. I thought his bat speed was good enough. Well, he didn't have a very good spring training. They sent him out early, and he hit the ball really well in Sacramento. They brought him back, and he has not stopped hitting since. And on this road trip, and Shayna Rubin had it in her Chronicle story yesterday, he's been on base 16 of 24 at-bats. He's got 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 9 hits, and 6 walks. And he did it yesterday. He carried the team yesterday. He's capable of carrying this team, and he's doing it. Elliot Ramos. So he gets a big double and drives in Slater with the first run of the game. And then he comes up in the 3rd inning, and Slater gets a base hit and a tough at-bat. Come on, if you go back and look at that at-bat, he was fouling pitches off and working the count, and really a tough at-bat against Andrew Heaney, who's a very good pitcher. Let me say that. He pitched a very good game yesterday. And then he got a hit. Where did he get it? To right field. He inside-outs that ball as well as anyone in baseball, and he was on. And here comes Ramos. And Heaney just laid one right in, and Ramos didn't miss it. It was gone. Home run number 6 for him. He's at 4 in 6 games. He's got 23 RBIs now. He's catching up. I think Estrada's leading the team with 32. Well, within another 10 days, Ramos could be leading the team here in RBIs. So Ramos knocks it out, and the Giants are up 3-0 at that point. They give up a run. Spencer Howard gave up a run early. Simeon walks and Smith walked. This is in the 1st inning. And you had to worry about Howard. Howard pitched a great game yesterday. Spencer Howard pitched a terrific game yesterday. Gave up the sacrifice fly to Lowe in the 1st inning, and that was it. And Bob Melvin came to get him in the 5th inning and deprived them of a win, I guess. He brought Eric Miller in to face Smith, and Miller struck him out, and that was the end of the 5th inning. And after that, the Giant bullpen just took over with Miller to Walker to Rogers. That's 2 1/3 innings of only giving up 1 hit. That's what I'm talking about. They can get it done. Then Duvall comes in and makes things very dicey. He does. What can I say? The command is not there. Great arm. I'm not sure he knows what he's doing right now or what pitch works for him. Fastball was not working for him yesterday. He needed the slider to get out of trouble. The Rangers threatened in the 9th inning. A walk, a hit, and then he got Jankowski. He was 3-0. He could have loaded the bases there, and he came back and got him on a little tapper to the mound. And then he got Tavares on a fly to right with second and third at that point. And I want to tell you, Tavares, when he hit it, I thought it was in. And he just missed one right down the right field line. So Duvall's shaky, but he gets it done, and he gets the save. That was his 11th save of the year. And the Giants win 3-1. They only had three hits after the 3rd inning. Not a lot of hitting yesterday. Conforto didn't do much yesterday. Soler, my goodness, still comes up with guys on base, and you think things are going to happen. And he struck out to end the 6th inning. As I said, Conforto 0 for 5. Yeah, 0 for 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 for 4 yesterday. Estrada 0 for 4 yesterday. Casale didn't do much yesterday. And Fitzgerald got a hit. And I said again, Fitzgerald brings that element of speed to the Giants. So that's what happened yesterday. And they win it 3-1. Heaney pitched a good game. And we'll see what the Giants can do today. Keaton Winn comes off the disabled list today. And Giants need him. They do. They need a big game from him today. Let's face it, with Snell out probably for 3 weeks, I would think. Keaton Winn now has to step up. He's back. He's had the elbow miseries all year long in spring training and also at least a couple of times here during the season. But he's back today, and we'll see what he can get done against the Texas Rangers, a team that does not hit. Boy, Bruce Bochy, I know he's sitting there wondering where did the hitting go. Boy, this Texas Ranger team, a world championship team, but they've got some serious injuries here. The third baseman is out. The outfielder, Carter, is out. Seager is out. Wyatt Langford, the kid who hit like 10 home runs in spring training, University of Florida, he was one of the top picks in the draft last year, is off to a very slow start. So they don't really have much. Simeon is not doing much at all, and they just don't have much in the way of hitting right now. So Keaton Winn gets the benefit of that. He's got to keep people off base if he can, because runners in scoring position, they're 12 for 21 against him, which is not a good number. He's not putting people away. 3 stolen bases, 3 caught stealing. First pitch, 7 for 18. Lefties, 200 against him, and righties are 302. So Keaton Winn, he's got the split. He's got that pitch to keep it down. He's a good pitcher. But, boy, he's a little bit out of sync, and they're going to need him today against a Texas team, honestly, that is really depleted offensively. They are really struggling offensively. Bruce Jenkins and I will look at that when we look at it every Sunday. But I'll just tell you, Texas is 11th in home runs in the American League. How about that? And 8th in OPS, so that tells you a little bit about the way they're hitting. Nathan Eovaldi is going to pitch today for the Rangers, and it's going to be interesting to see how he works Ramos, because Ramos doesn't have a spot right now where you can get him maybe up and in with that fastball. The stuff out across the plate, he's hitting very well. As far as anything chasing, he can flip the ball to right field. He's doing that well, but he's hitting just rockets up the middle. Let's see how Eovaldi pitches him today. Because let's face it, Eovaldi is one of the top pitchers in baseball. He's a right-hander. He's been hurt. 8 stolen bases, no caught stealing against him. So the Giants may try to take advantage of that to get a little bit of offense going for them. But he's 2-2 on the year. The whip is 1.12. At Arlington in this Globe Life Park, 31 innings, only 2 homers given up. But he's pitched 9 games this year, so he's been out with injuries. 50 innings, 37 hits, 4 homers in 50 innings. That's really good. 53 strikeouts, 19 walks, so about a 3-to-1 ratio, which is pretty good in baseball today. He's 81 and 75 lifetime, but he's a very good pitcher, a big game pitcher. He was very good for Texas in the playoffs last year. He's been around. Boy, the Dodgers, Miami, the Yankees, Tampa Bay, Boston, and finally Texas here. Runners in scoring position, you can hit him a little bit. With 2 out, he's 1 for 12, and that's the veteran who settles down in that situation. First time through, 194 with 3 homers. So before he settles in, like most great pitchers, before they settle in, maybe you can knock one out of the park. Chapman, 3 for 12 with a couple of homers against him. Conforto, 1 for 8. Flores, 1 for 7. Soler, 0 for 4. And Yastrzemski, 1 for 2 with a homer. Boy, what a strange season for Mike Yastrzemski, isn't it? Hit some home runs. He'll run into one, that pinch hit home run the other day. He seems like he's always 3-0, 3-1. And then they come back on him and get him, or they walk him. It's interesting to watch him. He's only hitting, 215, something like that, 220. But they need him. He's a good defender in right. He really is. But, boy, offensively, he is really a mystery for me. So that offense in right field, Slater and Yastrzemski in right, depending on the platoon, Ramos in center, and Conforto in left. We'll see what the shortstop looks like today, whether it's Wisely or Fitzgerald. With the righty on the hill, I imagine it's going to be Wisely today, the left-handed hitter. So Giants have a chance to sweep today and do some damage here in this National League West. Boy, the Dodgers, and I can't wait for Bruce and I to talk about this. Aaron Judge, 2 home runs yesterday. Kiki Hernandez, 2 home runs, including a slam yesterday. And the Dodgers just walloped the Yankees. How about that in Yankee Stadium? Another 48,000 there. That's their 41st win of the year for the Dodgers. Gavin Stone, another good game for him. And as Bobby Miller's supposed to be back next week. So the Dodgers taking care of the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. So how about that? But Kiki, 2 homers yesterday, including the slam. He's got 15, is that right? 15 homers on the year? It's hard to believe. I can't believe he's got that many. The San Diego Padres, boy, did they wallop Arizona yesterday. And this Waldron pitched a good game for him. But Profar, another big game for him. Kim, 3-run homer for him. And San Diego wins. So, as I say, the Giants can do some damage. The Giants are now 33 and 34. Padres are 34 and 34. Arizona, with the losses, 30 and 35. But the West, the Dodgers have won 3 straight. Padres 2 straight. Giants 3 straight. So the West is flexing its muscles a little bit. And I still think the West is going to separate from these other teams. There are 7 or 8 teams in this fight for 2 wild card spots, and right now San Diego has got one of them, and the Giants and Cincinnati are tied for the next one. But watch out for the Pirates. I said this 2 weeks ago, and this Paul Skeens with Jarrett Jones. He pitches today. Jarrett Jones goes today against Minnesota, and Pittsburgh has won a couple of games there. Keller has won, 6 or 7 in a row. Falter, the lefty, has pitched well. And they need that one more pitcher. That Martin Perez is out. But the Pirates, they can pitch, and they have a bullpen. This summer, I tell you, is going to be fascinating for me. There are 7 or 8 teams just locked up for these 2 wild card spots, and they all can pitch. And it's a question of who can play the best defense, which is important for the Giants to play really good defense here in this second part of the season. Defense and pitching will win it because nobody hits. The whole league is hitting, 240. Scott Osler had a column today. He wants to reduce the size of Oracle Park some more. He wants to make it a Little League field. Okay, get more home runs. Because let me tell you, the league, 240, on base 311, and slugging 388. Not very good. So it's pitching and defense that'll tell the story, and the Giants are going to be right in the middle of that. And I'll tell you something, Atlanta is no picnic for me. Atlanta just got beat twice by Washington, and we'll see what happens with them today. And they hold down that 4th wild card spot. That may get up for grabs. that may get up for grabs, because when you look at the loss column for Atlanta, Atlanta's got 27. Now, that's only 7 different from this big group of 7 or 8 teams. So watch out for Atlanta. They've got to pull it together, or they're going to fall back into this other crowd. And this is going to be quite a summer, because you just have to get in. And when you can pitch and play defense, you are in the mix. And that's where the Giants are now. Giants are all right, 33 and 34. So a lot of good things happening. Ramos, the major one, Elliot Ramos. It's a pleasure to see this kid get off like this and do what he's doing. Giants are 3 and 4 in June now, on the road 15 and 19. Finally got 4 and 7 now against the American League. Texas is 2 under 500 at home. But again, I'll say this: runners in scoring position for the Giants, it's still a problem. 1 for 15 in the series. Texas is 1 for 6 in the series. Giants left 7 on base, and they just need those big hits. They just don't get those big hits, and Soler is right in the middle of it, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for him to get hot and do something, because he just always comes up with people on base. All right, that's the story. We got a good show for you today. It is Sunday morning. Good morning, everyone, and watching on the stream. We have a good author, David Brower. I'll hold the book up. It's about Ron Frazier. And Ron Frazier is the wizard of college baseball, how he elevated Miami and an entire sport to national prominence. He is the reason college baseball is the big deal today. And David Brower did a really good story about Ron Frazier. I was in Miami when Ron Frazier took over the Hurricanes, so I know all the tricks and things that he did. A very special guy. And this is a good story. So David Brower will join us next, right here on this Sunday morning, KNBR 680 1045, the sports leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 1045 and 680, the sports leader.
Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we're joined by Grant Power. He is the president and CEO of Nations. Grant, I love to talk about the menu at Nations, especially this time of year. What's going on?
Well, just as spring brings real baseball games, spring brings the strawberry season at Nations. And we do not believe in frozen strawberries, so we only have them during the spring, summer, and early fall months when we can get them fresh from Southern California. That time's arrived. And so strawberry tart, strawberry cheesecake becomes our best-selling pie during this time of year. Strawberry pancakes, strawberry French toast.
How about breakfast at Nations? We talk about that a lot.
For 27 of our locations, any time of day, I love getting breakfast at night. We can mix and match, sub, if you don't want the hash brown with toast, we'll throw in the French toast or the pancakes. Your choice of meat with the breakfast, again, the wild salmon goes wonderful with the eggs, but we got the bacon, sausage, linguiça, you name it. You can't really experience the Nations dining experience if you haven't tried the breakfast at least once.
I love talking about Nations. Grant, great to have you with us. Have a good day. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Marty.
Marty Lurie here, reporting from River Islands in Lathrop, Northern California's best-selling master plan community. The breaking news from River Islands is the announcement that Del Webb, the best-known name in active adult living, is coming to River Islands this fall. It's been years since Del Webb has offered a new community in Northern California, and people are already signing up for their interest list. With a September opening in view, Del Webb is building 3 different model complexes for their 9 home designs. All of the homes are single-story, and 2- and 3-bedroom plans will be available. The community, it'll have its own lake and an amenity center with sport courts, a pool, club rooms, and a fitness center. Del Webb will be joining the River Islands roster of fine home builders that are creating all new neighborhoods near the San Joaquin River, alongside a lake or close to parks or trails. You can start your tour now at riverislands.com. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands? This one sure is for me.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talking Baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for Giants baseball, joined by David Brower, B-R-A-U-E-R. He's got a great book out. It's called The Wizard of College Baseball, How Ron Frazier Elevated Miami, an entire sport, to national prominence, and he certainly did. And I was in Miami for a good run of when Ron Frazier was the baseball coach at the University of Miami. David, welcome to the show. We're very glad to have you. It's an interesting subject. Why you? And then we'll talk a little bit about you and your background, but why did you get into this book?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, and it's great to be on with you. And yeah, this book, kind of came serendipitously in a way. My background is growing up in the Midwest, grew up in the shadows of the University of Illinois, and really kind of took an interest in college baseball around the time when, believe it or not, Augie Garrido coached 3 years at the University of Illinois in the late 80s. And school where basketball is king, but baseball certainly rose on the interest level when he was there, had some success before he went back to Fullerton. But, that's kind of where it started, and, checking out games on TV in those days when ESPN was kind of your sole source for college baseball broadcasts, and then eventually starting to attend the College World Series in 1992, which was Ron Frazier's last year, and actually got to meet him as he walked into the ballpark at Rosenblatt Stadium there for a game, and I had Miami hat on and wished him luck, and he said, wear that hat with pride. So kind of a fun interaction there, but took an interest in Miami and watching those games on TV because they were televised quite frequently. And fast forward to, a few years ago where on a family trip down in Florida and went over to Miami for a day. And one of the points to check out was just wanted to see the campus, see the ballpark there, Mark Light Stadium, and ended up going into the Hall of Fame next door. And just, again, kind of that serendipitously, opportunity, ended up in a conversation with the gentleman manning the Hall of Fame that day. He was a past president, and he had some ties back to Champaign-Urbana, and I had an Illinois shirt on, so we're talking about that a little bit. And so then he started telling me some stories about Ron Frazier. And eventually I said, well, has anybody ever written a book about him? And he said no. And, I was really kind of surprised by that because all the media coverage that he had and all the things that he did, not only there at Miami, but for the sport of college baseball. And so with my background, and my background is in sports information side of things as an SID and a lot of public relations writing and those things, and with a keen interest in history, I thought, hey, this might be a natural. And so I got connected with the right people and found a publisher at Nebraska Press that was willing to take this on. They've done a lot of baseball books there, and here we are.
Boy, it's a great story, and of course the book is available up at the Book Tree in Montclair. David can get it for everybody. It really is a good book. As I say, I was in Miami for a good part of Ron Frazier's tenure as a coach at the University of Miami, putting their baseball program on the map. Skip Bertman, who coached under Ron Frazier and became a legendary coach at LSU, he and I go back to 1956, believe it or not, when I was in the 6th grade, and our Little League team, North Shore Park, played against Flamingo Park, and Skip was the coach. of Flamingo Park, and also was one of our high school coaches later on. But he has an interesting quote, and I want to read it before we talk a little bit more about Ron. Skip says this: he's having coached alongside Ron Frazier for 8 seasons. I can say this book captures the essence of his brilliance, his entertaining persona, and the adoration felt for him as a coach and mentor. He was to college baseball, listen to this, what Muhammad Ali was to boxing. Boy, I like that quote. It's on the back cover of the book. But let's talk about Ron Frazier and how he got to the University of Miami and all the innovations that he did that really put college baseball on the map, not just in the University of Miami, but all over the state of Florida and ESPN and all these other places. How did it all come about for him?
Yeah, again, it was kind of one of those fateful things, right? It was he had started his coaching career after he finished his playing career in college at Florida State, ironically, a rival, he ended up going to serve in the Army and was in Europe, stationed in Germany, ended up coaching kind of the military base type of team, and eventually ended up becoming the coach in the Netherlands and running the Netherlands national program. Now, the Netherlands had some success back in those days, and we're talking, late 50s. But at the time, it was still there was a lot of refinements to do with baseball. One story I heard was that, they took the rule of keeping engaged on the pitching rubber quite literally all the way to the point of follow through. So just imagine how a pitcher would be in that type of, form. But so he, was in the Netherlands and won a couple of European championships there, and came back to the States, had a young family, and, Miami had a job open, and Auburn University had a job open at the time. And it's kind of funny, and I detail it a little more in the book, but the president at the University of Miami was watching a game show, and Ron Frazier was on. It was one of those, guess the occupation of the individual, and so that kind of piqued his interest, and I think the connection there at Florida State with his coach at the time, Danny Litweiler, helped get him in there at Miami, and they brought him on board at Miami, said, we'll hire you part-time. He ended up working at the youth center there in Coral Gables to supplement the income, and they told him not to spend any money. And his first day, he realized that they had no equipment. The previous coach had given it all away to the seniors on the previous team. And, Miami baseball was an afterthought at the time. It wasn't, any type of significant success at all. They did have Jimmy Fox as a coach 2 coaches prior to Frazier, but he was only a 500 coach. So, it was really starting from scratch there.
But what I remember about Ron Frazier is putting baseball on the map. With ESPN, getting it on TV, getting the College World Series to be a marquee event. But he did what we would call zany promotions in those days with a mascot. And you could talk about this one. And I remember this. He used to have dinner on the field. That was a huge fundraiser. I can remember that. The baseball field wasn't too far from the law school, and I used to drive past it every day, so I remember some of these things. But how about some of the zany promotions he did?
That could have been a book in and of itself, to be honest. There were so many things that he knew how to attract a crowd, and he made it entertainment. And you think about it at the time, and South Florida only had the Miami Dolphins. They came in there in the 60s, and none of the other pro sports were there. Miami athletically Rick Barry was there in the mid-60s, and basketball had some success, but they ended up dropping basketball in the early 70s. Football was almost on the brink of extinction. So baseball had that opportunity to grow, and he, did all these things, like you said, with promotion. So you think about the competition that you have in that area of the country where you have so much going on. People are spending time at the beach. I mean, it's not far, obviously, from campus. And he brought them in with all these different things. You mentioned the dinner on the field. It was a tremendous fundraising event. He wanted to have the most expensive dinner possible. Had this, meal on the field for the largest donors to help fund the building of the stadium in the mid-'70s. Brought in chefs from Europe and had ice sculptures on the field. This really extravagant setup for quite an event. And and then you talk about some of the other things that he did as far as the promotions to bring fans in. He had college baseball's first mascot dedicated to that sport. Miami had the Ibis, and a lot of teams have their mascot for football and basketball and every sport. But this was the first mascot strictly for baseball. And Miami Maniac did all sorts of different things, from recreating Olympic events on the field to even getting married on a Sunday night broadcast by ESPN, which might have been the greatest mascot promotion, certainly at its time.
I love it. And I saw some of these promotions. But aside from that, all right, so he's this great promoter, and he helps out the athletic department, gets ESPN involved, and is doing amazing things. But he put together a heck of a program with draft choices and major leaguers. And what about his baseball program that he put out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, it's not to be lost that he retired with over 1,200 wins and was second all-time in NCAA history at the time. So, I mean, it's 2 national championships. He had 2 in 4 years, was a perennial College World Series team, especially in the 80s. I mean, that was the program in the country for all those factors, the success on the field, the media coverage. They had media coverage that was akin to what a major league team would have, with 2 beat writers in South Florida. TV and the sports would lead in with Miami baseball coverage. So, but yeah, as far as the players that he developed, a lot of really good players that made the majors. Some names that people would recognize, in his last year there, Charles Johnson, that ended up being the first ever draft choice of the Florida Marlins at the time. Some players throughout the 70s and 80s that, made it, but maybe weren't real big stars in the major leagues. But one really important, I think, piece that stands out is the 1985 team. And when they played in the College World Series, they played Mississippi State with Will Clark, Bobby Thigpen, Jeff Brantley, that superstar lineup. Oklahoma State had Pete Incaviglia. They had, I think, 35 draft picks, or I should say future major leaguers from that 85 College World Series. Miami had no players on their team that made it to the major leagues. Wow.
I remember the one play he used to use with first and third. He'd have the guy on first, fake going to second like he falls down. And they try to get him in a rundown. The guy from third scores. He had all sorts of plays, fake pickoffs, and the first baseman make believe the ball went past him, and they'd get the runner that way. He was amazing, and he put together a great college program. Boy, this is good. The book is The Wizard of College Baseball, and all the stories that David talks about, it's David Brower, Brauer, are in the book, and it's a very easy read, some real good pictures as well. But he really did create college baseball and really saved the athletic program, the U, as we call it, at the University of Miami. David, you have a Facebook page as well, Twitter. Where do people kind of follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple different places you can go. RonFrazierBook.com is the website, Fraser, RonFrazierBook.com. And then also, as you mentioned, on Facebook and Twitter/X, as it's called now these days, right. But both at Ron Frazier Book.
Thinking back to this book a little bit as we have another minute or two to go with you here, what did you learn? Now, of course, you admired Ron Frazier, and you went to the University of Miami just to check it out and things like that. But what did you learn about him that maybe you didn't know that was amazing?
Yeah, I think a couple things really stand out. One was I did over 100 interviews for this book, and a lot of former players, coaches, both that he coached with, against, and there's just such an adoration for the man. And, he was quite a character. Very compassionate, had a humble upbringing, was very, very low key, had a, good wit and sense of humor, and just endeared himself to everyone, whether that was, the donors that really helped him build the program and get the financing to get that going, whether it was the players that he mentored. They just spoke so highly of him. And it's kind of ironic that, he retired in 1992, and that's even though it's been 3 decades, people still talk, especially in that area, like he was just a recent coach. And 2 years after he retired, Jim Morris took over and had a Hall of Fame career of his own that went 25 years, and that included 2 national championships. So it's not like the program took a downslide, and still one of the stronger programs in the country today. But I think that, and I think how much influence baseball had on the University of Miami's athletics growth, including football. You can make a case that he really paved the way for their football success, or almost gave a bit of a blueprint, much like he did for a lot of college baseball programs, for football to follow. And Howard Schnellenberger, when he came aboard, kind of followed some of that. And that's almost unfathomable today, when football's the driver of all revenue, and baseball's kind of in the back seat there.
Boy, 35-34 over Nebraska. I'll never forget it. That was the big game for Howard Schnellenberger, national championship game. Boy, great to have you on, David. The book is a lot of fun. Ron Frazier started there 1963, so you've got 30 years of a great program. So pleasure having you on, and good luck with the book, and we'll catch up with you again.
Thanks for having me, Marty. It was a lot of fun to put together, and I think it'll be a lot of fun for people to read, whether a baseball fan or just kind of interested in human interest type stories.
I agree. The Wizard of College Baseball, how Ron Frazier elevated Miami and an entire sport to national prominence. David Brower, B-R-A-U-E-R. More coming up. Giants baseball right here, KNBR 680, 104.5, the sports leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow. For the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship.
So now Ramos, first pitch, a swing, and there's a drive. Hit high and deep out to left field, way back. It's gone. Stay hot, Elliot Ramos. A 2-run home run up over the 372 marker and straightaway left for Ramos, his 4th home run in the last 6 games. And this one gives the Giants a 3-1 lead.
I was trying to see it on the changeup. He threw Slater a couple of changeups in a row, and then he threw before Slater he threw like 2 or 3 to Fitzy. So I was just trying to see if he could throw me a changeup for a strike, and I got a breaking ball. So he hanged it, and I hit it.
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
Great to be back with you. Boy, the Elliot Ramos is a great story. It's a great story. Good call by Joe Rizzo and a good cut, Raf, from Elliot Ramos. He hang it, I bang it. And that's the story of baseball. Glenn Kyper, it is Sunday morning. Always a pleasure to talk with you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How's the Godfather today?
I'm doing okay. It's early, but Raf and I are getting it going, so it's cool. But come on, how about this Elliot Ramos, Glenn?
He is, you know what, and I don't know that I saw this coming. I got to be honest. He looked pretty good in spring training. But we've seen him struggle in the past, and he never really got a chance. In fairness to him. So it has been a lot of fun to watch. You and I talked about maybe the one concern we had with him. He swings and misses a lot, but if he's doing damage, then you live with that, right? And that's what's happening now. He's doing damage, and really when the Giants have really needed clutch hits, they seem to at times struggle with runners on base. He has done a nice job of coming up with a lot of big hits. And I think, too, Marty, something really interesting to watch with him is him playing center field. Can he play there on a regular basis? Because if he can, that's a huge thing. We haven't seen a lot of it yet. He looks very comfortable out there, and he's a great athlete. And I'm keeping a close eye on that, because if he can play center, it leaves everybody else really in spots where they probably, should be at defensively. So it's great to see. Listen, we love these young kids when they come up and do it. And we saw Matos do it. Unfortunately, he hit a long slump. Let's hope that doesn't happen with Ramos.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because I noticed yesterday Ramos called Slater off a couple of times and took charge. And, as you point out, that's what you have to do in center field. And the one time he had to go to his right to cut off a ball in the gap, he didn't cut it off exactly, and that Langford got a double on him. And maybe that was the one thing he was a little slow on. But when I first saw him in the instructional league, he was a center fielder. That's where he was playing.
Yeah, when they first drafted him, he was playing quite a bit out there. So it's not completely foreign to him. And hopefully, he's good enough athlete to be out there. I mean, that's exciting if he can handle it. And you don't even have to ask the guy to be a Gold Glover, right? Just get good reads. Don't make mistakes out there, but if he can do that, and even he's going to hit a slump somewhere along the line, and then you watch how he battles through it, right? Because that's just the life of a big leaguer, and that's going to happen. But then you keep a close eye on is this slump a week long, or does it turn into like a 3-week slump, kind of what happened to Matos? But those are all things you watch for any big leaguer. But he certainly has been a savior lately, and it is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn Kyper with us, as we always talk ball with Glenn on Sunday morning. Slater is back, and he got the walk yesterday that preceded the double that Ramos got, and then he got a hit. And he got a tough at bat. He was working that at bat, and he got his classic inside-out swing to right. And look, the guy is a major leaguer. I know everyone is upset with him. He's 5 for 43 and he's hurt and all this stuff. But you can't get rid of him. He's got to play, and he's an impact player. He is potentially an impact player at the top of the lineup where they don't have anybody, and I think he's got to get a real shot here.
Well, at least against the left-handed pitching,
right?
And I agree. And he's been sort of a lightning rod of criticism. I think I think a big part of that, Marty, is where he's just been hurt a lot, and I think fans get tired of guys who are hurt a lot, fair or unfair. That listen, it's professional sports. Guys get hurt, but when a part-time player gets hurt a lot, I think that hurts how the fans view him. I think they tend to have a negative view of him because of that. And then you come back and you struggle a little bit, and you're not playing every day. So I do agree with you. I think in the long run, he is an asset, and I think he can help you. Now, listen, if he's still struggling a month from now and not, and hitting, 150, then you may have to think about it. But I do think that, and I agree with you, I think he needs to play in his spots, and because he's got good speed, he's a good defender, and we've seen him get hot. He just hasn't got hot in a long time because he's been banged up. But you got to stay with him. And I know fans don't always like to hear that, but I am with you. I think he can help you. But if the slump is still there a month and a half from now, then maybe it's a different story.
Yeah, I said yesterday, boy, the bullpen. Let's face it. First of all, I want to ask you about this. They pulled Spencer Howard, 4 2/3. Woe and I'll talk about this. You and I have talked about it. And I realized they brought Miller in. It's still a 3-1 game, and there's a lefty coming up and blah, blah, blah. But, boy, the kid pitched a nice game, and he wasn't really in trouble. And it cost him the win, essentially.
Yeah.
And,
it's
come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can look at that strategically, and you understand why the move was made. It's a 3-1 game. Somebody hits the ball at the ballpark. Now it's tied. So you get why Bob Melvin did that. You always hate to see that happen because the kid did pitch good, and he's really done a pretty nice job for the Giants in this spot start, bulk inning guy thing, which they desperately needed right now with Snell out. So he has done a good job. So you understand both sides of it. You always like to see a kid get a W. I was a little surprised, I guess, that they took him out. It worked out. Miller gets a strikeout, and game and the same score, so all that worked out. But I would not change the rule necessarily. I don't think that's as deep as I would go into it to change the rule. But I do think that the kid pitched well enough, and if nothing else, he's been a godsend too. So he's they're going to need him for a couple more starts probably. But I'm not ready to change any rules yet, Marty. Not yet.
All right. No, good analysis. Spencer Howard we're talking about. I'm ready to change it. I'm ready because, look, the way baseball is played today, look, Bochy did it with Lorenzen. He pulled him at 4 2/3. Now, he was in a little jam when he got him out of there, but he got him out. Lorenzen wasn't thrilled with it. And the way baseball is played today, we've seen it for the last few years. If you go into that 5th inning and you get in trouble or your pitch count is up, they take you out and it costs you a win. And a win is a way a pitcher is evaluated. And that's the way you've learned to play the game. So you go 4 2/3. Miller comes in and goes a third or an inning and a third, and he gets the win. When you could have given the win to Howard, and it's cool. Let the score, whoever's the official score, let Jim Young figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think the point that you just made is a good one about how the game has changed, where starting pitchers don't pitch deep into games anymore. A lot more bullpen work. So I do see that point of it, and we are also seeing that firsthand with Giants pitchers. We've seen it with Harrison and Hicks, and where they pitch pretty good for 4 innings, but they got to get the heck out of there because they just throw way too many pitches. So I think it's in our minds because we do see it a fair amount where our starting pitchers just aren't really pitching deep into games. But I do think that whole trend in Major League Baseball, the trend you're talking about, I hope it changes. I hope that somewhere along the line we get back to where starting pitchers are at least going, 6 innings.
Yeah.
We're not even seeing that anymore. And I don't really care for that. But that's just sort of where it's at right now, and I hope it gets better, because everybody likes to see a Logan Webb go out there and give you 7-8 innings. Now I know that's not going to happen every time, but you just don't see it very often at all anymore, where somebody goes 7 or 8 innings as a starter. And I miss that, and I think the game is better when the starter is out there longer.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more exciting to see him work out of trouble, but the game has changed, and there's no question. And the Giants take advantage of it, because when they're tied after 6, they're 21-1. They score runs late, and let's face it, Miller to Walker to Rogers, and then the heart attack starts with Duvall. But basically, they get it done.
Yeah, no, these guys deserve a lot of credit. Boy, you just hope and pray that they don't run out of gas, and I know Bob Melvin probably worries about that every day, because they really have done a nice job. And I know I think they got 9 relievers now, right, Marty? And because they're down a starter or two, so you do have sort of an extra man down there. But they have worked a lot, and they've been really good. But boy, you just at some point they're going to need to tap the brakes a little bit on how much they're using these relievers, and the only way to do that is to just have your starters go deeper into games. Hopefully that will be the case in the second half when you start to get that rotation healthy and you get those guys that you have been waiting for to come off the injury list, and hopefully that will help ease the burden on this bullpen, because I just don't know if, as good as they've been, Marty, I don't know that would be able to continue for the whole season just from a usage standpoint. I just think it would be too much on these guys.
Yeah, well, that's why Cobb. We hope Cobb will come back at some point if the shoulder is okay, and then Robbie Ray sounds like every time he goes out there, he's getting. And look, you've seen Robbie Ray more than I have. And you know what he brings to the table, and it sounds like he's on his way back. But we'll talk about him in a couple of weeks. Let's talk about the Rangers a little bit. Look, they're the world champions. They don't hit at all. Come on, Simeon isn't doing anything, and Garcia, boy, I didn't realize how pitchable he is. But Texas is a little disappointing right now with all the injuries.
Yeah, and yeah, they are a little bit banged up, but boy, you can almost say that about anybody now, right? It's just, teams are banged up. But, yeah, they don't look the same to me in watching them. Teams last year, they had a look, right? I mean, they had a little swagger, but that swagger's not there. I mean, they're sort of in the middle of the American League in runs scored. Right. Now, listen, they are waiting, sort of like the Giants are waiting for pitching. They're waiting for Scherzer, and they're waiting for DeGrom. And remember, they signed the kid from Tyler Mahle, who's a pretty decent starter. He's out, so they're waiting for these guys to get back. And I do think, Marty, you look at where the Rangers are in the standings. They're 4 games under 500, but they're only 5 games back. They're 5 games back of Seattle for the division lead. So they're not buried by any stretch. But they don't look like the same team. And even this weekend, and looking at them and looking at their lineup, Marty, there's no Corey Seager. There's no Evan Carter, good outfielder. The young third baseman, Josh Young, he's out. So we're not really seeing that full lineup, because when they have their full lineup, it's really, really good. They just haven't had it a lot this year. And, Boach is doing everything he can. But he may, too, be kind of waiting for reinforcements to come off the injured list for the second half, and then they make their move. Because there's still a lot of talent on that team.
Oh, yeah, he better get some hitting. He's got plenty of pitching. He better get some hitting there. Very quickly, as we wrap it up with Glenn on this Sunday morning, Houston's coming in next. That's another team. Kyle Tucker is out. He went on the IL the other day. He's got 17 home runs or so. What do we expect from Houston coming in?
Well, same thing, Marty, right? I mean, their starting rotation is just in shambles because of injuries, right? They're losing guys to Tommy John surgery, and so that's been their issue, and they haven't really played well. I mean, they're 5 games under 500, which is a surprise. But then if you're saying, listen, Urquidy's out, Garcia's out, Javier's out, McCullers out, that's 80% of your starting rotation right there. Who can handle what team could handle losing 4 of their 5 starters? And Tucker's out, but Tucker will be back. I think the Giants will not see Tucker, which is good. But again, if you look at what the Astros have done down in Anaheim, first 2 games of that series, they played great. They won 7-1 and 6-1 first 2 games of the series, so they've had a good series down there. They'll go for a sweep today, so they're looking for some momentum. But you know what, Marty? I saw the Astros many, many times, and as much as a lot of people don't like the guy for what they think he did or didn't do, keep your eyes on Jose Altuve because he's a lot of fun to watch. And I think when it's all said and done, Altuve's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Yep. Again, everybody wants to boo him. I get it. I totally get it. I don't like anything the Astros did back then either. But if you're looking for somebody to enjoy watching play, it's Altuve simply because he's a great player and he's probably a future Hall of Famer.
And he'll hit anything. He'll hit anything.
Doesn't matter.
I don't care where you throw it. He'll hit it. And over 300 stolen bases. Hey, great to talk to you this morning. We've got plenty to talk about next week. The Angels will be in with Ron Washington. And, of course, we've got a big series coming up in Rickwood. We'll talk about that next week. So have a good week, and I look forward to talking to you next Sunday.
All right. I'll be there, Marty. Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care. That is Glenn Kyper. Boy, good baseball on this Sunday morning. Bruce Jenkins next, right here on the Sports Leader. Fans, I want to welcome Rick Robin Construction to the family this year, and Rick is an expert in the home construction, remodeling of kitchen and baths in Napa and Sonoma. And Rick, what really impressed me, the way you approach your business. Now, let's say I'm a guy who says, I want my kitchen remodeled. What do you do?
Well, the first thing you do is you'll call, you'll speak to Tammy. We'll meet and talk to you and say we're going to do a kitchen. We'll decide what kind of kitchen you want. And if you like the estimate, I'll come back out, take detailed measurements, and then I'll take you down to our 30,000 square foot showroom and meet our designer. So you'll pick out all your cabinets, stone, your sinks, faucets, your flooring, and create color renderings that you'll receive the next day. Once all the material's in the warehouse, we'll pick it up, deliver it, start construction.
Beginning to end, Rick Robin Construction takes care of it. Rick, it's a great way to do business. Fans, if you want to get in touch with Rick, it's Rick Robin, RICKROBBEN, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, how about a phone number if folks want to call you?
Yeah, call us at 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin Construction in Napa. Rick, have a good day.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us as we welcome in Bruce Jenkins on this Sunday morning. Bruce, good morning to you.
How you doing, Marty?
Good. We're ready to go here. And, well, I'll tell you something. The Texas Rangers, boy, they are beaten up, aren't they, without their offense going?
Yeah, they don't look the same without Seager. They've got a kid, Wyatt Langford, who was so good in the College World Series. I would have drafted him in a second, and he's still going to be a great prospect. He hasn't really shown up yet, and they're in a little bit of a funk. Really good time for the Giants to go there. And, the Giants pitching is all kicked in. Now, if you can figure out this whole Roku thing, you can watch the last game of the series.
You got to speak into the remote. You have to say, take me to Roku.
That's right.
Otherwise, you'll never find it.
My wife, my wife found it last night, so bless her. We're going to be able to watch the game here in a couple hours.
Okay, yes, it's Roku today.
Yeah.
How about Ramos yesterday, Bruce? And I just throw the name out there, and he's in center field. And I said when I saw him as a kid, it was Willie Mays. He's kind of playing like Willie right now, but I like the kid. I just like to listen to him. I like the way he's playing, and he's getting big moments, and he's not walking away from them.
Yeah, and sometimes it does matter how they conduct themselves in an interview. He's a Puerto Rican kid, and he's got real good command of the language. He's a good talker. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it is refreshing to hear him because you're all of a sudden you're as locked into this guy as he is locked into the pitchers. This is a guy just in the spring. He was cut early.
Yeah.
And no one's. People thought, well, yeah, he hasn't really shown much. I guess I understand that, but man, it finally kicked in for him, and it's definitely for real. I mean, he's a guy who really wants the moment, and as we were saying yesterday, his play in the outfield, he's playing center field, has been really nice.
Yeah, I like the way he called Slater off a couple of times, and he took charge in center field, and Slater went, okay, you got it, no problem. Mm-hmm. Slater had a couple of good days, and we've talked about this. He did his Slater thing yesterday. He got on with a walk, and then he went a very tough at bat, and he inside out, and Ramos followed with the home run, and that was the game.
Yeah, that's what they want him to do. He's got a good eye. He got the walk that meant a lot in that inning, and there's a single to right. That's his specialty, and that's. I tell you, if you're pitching the way the Giants are, these things matter. You don't need Slater to hit a couple of 3-run homers, do what you do, and everybody, chips in a little bit. But the pitching, it's like we got this, and it was a nice thing all around.
Yeah, the pitching, and I'll say it again, when they get the lead, and look, they took Spencer Howard out. It cost them the win, and I understand how baseball works today. I don't like it. I think he deserved the win.
Oh, yeah.
But the bullpen parade starts, and they do get it done much more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, the night before last, it was Tyler Rogers to Duvall after Webb, and then last night you had, Miller and Walker and Rogers.
Right.
And then finally Duvall, and no runs are coming across. I did feel bad for Howard. He's 1 out away. We've talked about this before. I mean, he wasn't in any kind of trouble. The first 2 guys hit balls right back to him, and then he popped up Simeon, but here comes the left-hand hitter, and he's out of there 1 out away. Krukow he kind of went, wow. That's all he said. I don't think he was happy with it. He's an old school guy. Yeah, I thought it was very wrong to not leave him in to try and get out of that inning, but it worked out. I mean, I'm sure they had a pretty strict pitch count for him. It's not like he's Logan Webb. He's trying to establish a spot with the team. So good for the kid from San Luis Obispo. Also, Mike Krukow's country, by the way.
That's exactly right. I think he got the Krukow Award, I think, as a pitcher.
Yes,
down
he
there.
did.
So, but no, and he threw 74, and you're right. You bring up a good point because he has been like the bulk guy. This was his first start, so he hadn't gone that deep in the game. But I just had this discussion with Glenn Kyper, and I'll say it to you. I think the rules should be changed, and you just decide who gets the win. Wins are important for starting pitchers, and if you're going to say the starting pitcher, you can only go 4 1/3. We're going to take you out. I think you have to say, as a scorer, that guy still deserves the win because that's the way we measure starting pitching.
Yeah, everything's different now. I mean, you go 4 innings, you're a genius. And if you haven't allowed any runs and you're the best guy who was out there in a game that turned out getting real wild on you, he should get the win. I like that. I think that could happen.
Well, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
The lineup today: Ramos leads off, Bailey, Flores, Conforto, Estrada, Yastrzemski. Wisely at third today, and Fitzgerald at short. I guess Chapman gets a day off. I assume that's what's going on.
Yeah, I'm. Who knows? We're not there, but they need a few more looks at Fitzgerald. That's for sure, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I like Wisely. I like what he's done. I'll give you another one. This is one for a Sunday morning, just to contemplate a little bit. Jim Bowden, of course, he's always writing something on The Athletic about trades or this and that. Well, the All-Star game is coming up, and he kind of gave you his National League All-Star team. I want to run it by you very quickly. He's got Harper at first and Freddie Freeman the backup. At second, he's got Marte, and our guy Luis Arraez is the backup, who, by the way, is leading the major leagues in hitting now at .337. At short, he's got Mookie Betts, and he's got Dela Cruz as the backup. At third, he's got Alec Boehm and McMahon of Colorado as the backup. I'd consider Chapman in there. In right field, he's got Tatis, who's having really a good year. And he's got Teoscar Hernandez as the backup. And, by the way, I said earlier, Kiki Hernandez got 2 homers yesterday. It was Teoscar who had the two homers against the Yankees. He's having a great season.
Yeah.
In center field, he's got Matt Chisholm. He's got Jazz Chisholm. In center field, I almost put the A's media guy on there. And he's got Bellinger and Harris behind them. There aren't many center fielders, to tell you the truth, in the National League. And in left, he's got Profar and Yelich. How about that for just the guys on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chapman. If you're going to get McMahon in there, I think Chapman definitely belongs in that discussion. It's for people who follow the highlights. I think they're much more aware of some of the stuff that Chapman is doing than McMahon. Although he's been a better hitter. I really think Abrams from Washington should be in the argument at shortstop. He's having a great year. He'd be the one guy from there probably. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez has 15 homers. I mean, he's the big slugger on the Dodgers right now. They're going to Yankee Stadium, and he completely showed up. And then he's got, it's Bailey's in tough there. I think Bowden's got Contreras and Will Smith and Real Muto. That's a tough crowd, very tough crowd. And Ohtani will be the DH, and they got Ozuna. So, yeah, it should be pretty interesting.
Isn't it? That's a good National League team. That's
very good.
Yeah, and there's Contreras and Will Smith and Real Muto, and that knocks Bailey out. But I think that's right. I think those three are ahead of them.
Yeah, and Webb has to make the team. The only thing could keep him out is, like last year, he pitches on the Sunday and he literally can't pitch. But he has to be in that game. He's so deserving, and everybody knows how good he is. And I think Doval's got a pretty good shot. Hell, if Ramos kicked off the thing a little earlier, he'd be in the center field. If Jazz Chisholm's going to start, you can at least mention Ramos, right?
Seriously, ahead of Bellinger and Harris, You still have another month here. And,
right, exactly.
That could happen. Pitching-wise, Imanaga from the Cubs, he pitches today. Wheeler, Chris Sale, who got lost yesterday, close game to Washington. Glasnow, Skeens. How about that? Skeens is in there already.
God.
And yeah, Sonny Gray, Lopez from Atlanta, Dylan Cease, Assad from the Cubs. Webb, and then the only one reliever is that Suarez from San Diego.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine by me. I really don't like seeing a different pitcher every inning, although it's certainly fair. If you've made that trip, you want to get in the game. But for years, you'd see three guys going 3 innings. You'd see both teams using 6 pitchers, 3 innings each, and that was just the way it went. It's obviously not like that now, and it's fine. But Ranger Suarez came back yesterday in London and got the win for the Phillies, which is a relief because he'd been hurt. Skeens is unbelievable. I mean, he's just almost chuckling at how good he is out there. He's so confident. His breaking ball is as good as the fastball. He's completely on top of things right now. So it'd be great to see him in the game for more than 1 inning for my money. And then Glasnow, that's a good game in Yankee Stadium. He's going against Luis Gil of the Yankees, who's been unhittable lately. So that's a pretty good National League staff. Yeah, Wheeler and Imanaga. It's an interesting staff, is what it is, and it's great to see some new people in there.
Yeah, this San Diego. Bruce, they're starting to hit. They really are starting to hit. And I think it's, their pitching is not terrible. So I think there's action there for San Diego.
I mean, they had a terrible week in Anaheim. They got swept, which is just disgraceful to the Angels. And Machado even said this could come back to haunt us. They were so bad, but they snapped out of that. I mean, yesterday they get 3-run homers from Kim and Cronenworth, and as you say, they're hitting. That didn't even mention Machado or Tatis. So, the Padres are dangerous. I'll tell you, Marty, I haven't looked at the wild card standings at all this year because it's so early. But I took a look this morning. You've got the Giants are one of 6 teams within 1 game of each other behind Atlanta. You got the Padres and the Reds and the Pirates and the Cubs and the Cardinals. They're all basically the same. That's for the number 2 wild card spot. So pretty wild.
I'm telling you, and Atlanta is not running away from anybody.
No, they really aren't.
No.
They lost again yesterday. They lose to, was it Colorado or?
No, the Nationals.
Washington. Yeah, they're in a little bit of a funk. I think they're probably going to prevail in this thing. But who knows? But that wild card race is just completely nuts, and Arizona is not far out of that picture either, and neither is Washington. So
we're going to see who's going to separate, and it's going to be pitching and defense because no one really hits in the league. No one really hits, and I'll tell you that Rise is 337, Bruce. Witt is 322, Profar 322, and Ozuna 319, and Soto 318.
Yeah, I tell you, you look at the American League. There's like 4 guys: Witt, Soto, Salvi Perez, Jeremy Pena, and Rutschman. Those are the 300 hitters, and Rutschman's like right at 300. But I love Soto, being in the batting average race along with the obvious power that he's got. And then Arias he's going to win that in the National League, and you got some interesting guys in there. Ohtani, of course, and Mason Wynn, the kid who's playing ahead of Crawford in St. Louis, is at 303. He's been really, really good. And Profar, there's another San Diego guy who's hitting the heck out of the ball.
Judge with 23 now. This Gunnar Henderson 20. Tucker, who we won't see with Houston, he's on the IL with 19. Ozuna 18 and Ramirez 18.
Yeah, Ramirez, there was some talk about, is Ohtani a threat to win the Triple Crown? Well, he might get the average and the homers, but he's not going to catch Ramirez. He's got 41 to Ramirez's 61. Something like. Yeah, 61. Ramirez, once again, last night jerked a home run. I'm shocked he doesn't have 50 homers. Because every time you see him, he looks so good. And obviously Judge and Soto being in that RBR race is very cool. So,
if Cleveland wins, it's going to be tough not to have him in the MVP race. I know Soto and the whole Yankee thing people go nuts about, but this guy is right there.
Oh, if I'm picking the All-Star team, he might be the first guy I want. Judge is obvious, but Ramirez is just incredible. He's so reliable, and the team is winning. They're in first place, and he's a switch hitter. He's I think underappreciated somehow, but he'll get his due in the All-Star game this year. With those numbers, he's going to get a lot of play.
Boy, did you see the article from Scott this morning, Scott Osler?
Which one was it?
He wants to reduce the dimensions at Oracle again. He says,
I haven't picked up the paper out of the driveway.
Take a look. This is your buddy. He says we need more home runs, and we've got to tweak the park again, and and reduce it so we get more home runs, because he's lamenting the fact that there's no hitting in baseball. As I said, pitching and defense will tell the story for the second half. But as I read it, I said, come on, where are you going to make it any smaller? You're going to get rid of Triples Alley. He said, we'll call it Cul-de-sac Alley.
Yeah, just, tear down the right field wall and get rid of the cars. And no, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's a very fair park. Home run hitters go deep there. The Giants don't have that many home run hitters. Hitting is a little bit down, but baseball is very, very trendy. 10 years from now, you might have a flock of 300 hitters and guys taking a run at Judge's homers. There's nothing happening right now that says it's going to be that way forever, and I love the park as it is.
I don't know if you saw anything about the Oakland Ballers at all, but Kelsey Whitmore, female, pitched 3 innings for him the other day. How about that?
Yeah, I love it. I watched a clip of her warming up. And she's got that little swinging leg kick that you see from Kyle Harrison. She's a right-hander. It's not as pronounced as Harrison's, but she's got that little flourish to the end of her delivery, and she looks really good. I think that's fantastic what she's doing.
All right, it's fun. Well, we'll see what happens today. We've got Keaton Wynn. They're going to need him, Bruce, because, Snell isn't going to be ready for another few weeks, and you just can't have 2 openers. So they're going to need him big time today. And Evaldi is a heck of a pitcher. I want to see how he pitches Ramos today.
Yeah, very much so. That guy Evaldi, he's had like 19 surgeries, and he's always, that's about it. Then he comes back, and he's great. Then he'll have a little bit of a downslide, but he's just really, really good. He's been good for a long time. Texas needs a win today from him. And, if Ramos lights him up, that'll be yet another cool thing in the Giants side.
All right. Well, we will talk to you next week. A lot more baseball coming up. We'll see what happens today.
All right, Marty.
All right. Have a
Always
good
fun.
Sunday. Thanks, Bruce.
Yep.
All right. Let us take a look at the standings today, and we do that. It's sponsored by the Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. And the Dodgers, as I said, they have got that 8-game lead over the Padres. The Giants are 8.5 back, Arizona 10.5 back, and the Rockies 17. But the Brewers 6.5 over the Reds. The Pirates, don't overlook them, 7. Cubs 7.5, and the Cardinals 7.5. And the Phillies, they are running away with the East. The Braves are 9 back. Nationals, Mets, and Marlins finish it up, and that's a look at the National League standings for the Alameda County Probation Department. They work very hard, trust me. All right, more coming up. Eric Nadal, he is the play-by-play voice of the Rangers next, right here in the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, I heard from Gene Bagato up at Bodega Bay, and with the arrival of summer and the ensuing warmer weather, there's no better place to escape the heat than the Sonoma Coast. Up at the Tides Wharf restaurant in Bodega Bay, there's something for everybody. From the always popular fried calamari and New England clam chowder, to an in-house smoked fish and the Bodega Bay burger made with fresh chuck ground daily to ensure top quality. In the fish market, I love the sand dabs, one will find everything needed for a picnic at the beach or just to take home. And if you're looking to stay a while, the Inn at the Tides is just across the highway, waiting for you with its spacious rooms, all with bay views and a heated swimming pool. So if you're looking to get away this summer, remember the Tides Wharf and the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay. Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. with stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and of course Oracle Park. The rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, got a nice text this morning from Gary Mintz of the New York Giants Preservation Society, and he and I did a show at the Gotham Club last Monday night, and boy, what a great baseball fan he is, and boy, check it out, the New York Giants Preservation Society, and he does a show every Thursday night, a Zoom show, and it really is good baseball. So, Gary, nice to hear from you today. Well, joining us is Eric Nadal, and he is the play-by-play voice of the Texas Rangers. He's a Hall of Famer, the 2014 Ford Frick Award winner. He's from Brooklyn, New York. He's been to Ebbets Field. He went to Midwood High School. I know it well. And he's been the Rangers broadcaster since 1979, and he got to call the World Series last year. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Marty. Thanks for having me on.
Come on, man. I'm thrilled to have you on. What a thrill for you, though. The Brooklyn kid calls the World Series. How about that?
Yeah, and have it end the way that it did, as opposed to 2010 and 2011, where it was heartbreak for the Rangers. It's kind of an otherworldly experience. It kind of tops the bucket list.
Yeah, your call is famous. Your call is really good. Were you happy with it?
Yeah, I was happy with it. There was a lot of emotion, obviously. And I think what came out in the call was the combination of exhilaration and relief after all of the years of frustration for the Rangers and their fans.
I think it was one of those, can you believe it? You're not dreaming. Wasn't that in there? I think it was.
You're not dreaming. Yeah. all that day, Marty, I felt that I was dreaming. The Rangers were up 3-1. I thought we had a vastly superior team to the Diamondbacks, and it just kind of hit me. We're really winning this time. We're going to finish this off, and I really did feel all day like I was in a dream. And I grabbed a piece of a note paper from the Arizona Biltmore where we were staying, and just scribbled on there, "Ranger fans, you're not dreaming," and I stuck it in my wallet. And then when Marcus Semien hit the home run in the top of the ninth that put the Rangers, ahead by 5, I figured, not even the Rangers can screw this up. And I got the piece of note paper out to remind myself at some point in the call to let people know that they're not dreaming.
Great call. One of the classics. I really enjoyed listening to it. I was there. I saw that game. That was a heck of a game. I'll tell you that. That was not an easy game for the Rangers to win until Semien broke it open.
It was excruciating. It was kind of reminiscent of the Bochy games in the San Francisco years. All of those kind of games. Evaldi had runners on base, 6 innings in a row, most of them in scoring position, and, it kept stranding them, one by one. And finally the Rangers eke out a run, on a couple of soft hits. Just classic baseball.
So you got Boch. How do you like working with him, and what's the difference maybe with him even last year to this year? Because the team has struggled, let's face it, and you'll explain why, but he is a little different this year. I can see it.
Yeah, he's a joy. He's wonderful to talk to every day, regardless of how the team is doing. I can't say that you note any difference in Boch this year when the team's underperforming as opposed to last year, both when they were overperforming early in the year and underperforming later in the year. He's just so steady. You certainly can understand why the players love playing for him so much and why he has that ability, to maintain calm and, help prevent the team from ever falling into a true downward spiral.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of managers for the Rangers. You've seen the different. Let's talk a little bit about the managers you've seen over your career, because that's a good description of Bochy and the way he handles a team.
Yeah, when I started, my very first manager was Pat Corrales back in 1979. My first broadcast partner, of course, was John Miller. And John and I were the part of the team in 79 when Corrales was the manager. He was very explosive, very volatile.
Yes.
He got followed by Don Zimmer, Zimmer was also extremely excitable. He got followed by, I'm talking only about the full-time managers now.
Sure.
He got followed by Doug Rader, the Red Rooster, who was, beyond excitable. He was absolutely explosive. Bobby Valentine followed him.
Oh, wow.
No explanation needed. But I love talking to Bobby. He was, just a brilliant baseball mind. Bobby got followed by Johnny Oates. Johnny was calmer, but if he did get set off by something, he could really get mad. But the thing with Johnny, though, when the team wasn't playing well, Johnny would be down, and you would know it. You would know from the tone of his voice, whether the team was going well or not going well. Jerry Naron was after him. Jerry was extremely calm. Jerry had the kind of demeanor that kind of reminds you of Boch. Mm-hmm. Then Buck Showalter came along.
Wow.
And Buck was moody, I would say, and he got followed by Ron Washington. Wash was always in a good mood, but he was very prone to venting when things weren't going well. It was.
He tells you the way it is, yeah. Yeah,
there weren't a whole lot of filters there. And then Wash was followed by Bannister, Jeff Bannister, extremely vitriolic, really lots of highs and lots of lows, and really, really explosive when he lost his temper. And Chris Woodward, he was very calm. He had a lot of the Boch mentality in him. Unfortunately, he never had a decent team. He's the guy probably who gets the worst rap, out of all of them, in terms of never really having a chance to show what kind of a manager he could be. And then Boch following Woodward.
Wow, what a history. Great. Eric Nadal with us. Great history of Ranger managers. John was on the broadcast with Dave Raymond yesterday, and I got to listen to it. And he was talking about being employed by the city of Arlington. Was that you, too? Were you employed by the city of – how did that work out?
I was employed by this – yeah. And, Marty, when I got hired, I'd never done a baseball game.
Really?
I was in Dallas broadcasting minor league hockey for the Dallas Blackhawks, who were the Chicago Blackhawks and Toronto Maple Leafs AAA club. And the Rangers knew they were going to need another broadcaster, and John's partner at the time, Bill Merrill, his radio partner, was going to retire in a year or two. And they wanted a young guy. They also wanted somebody who would help them sell advertising. And in minor league sports, you always had to sell advertising, so I had a background in it, and I'd been doing it in Dallas for 2 years, which was very helpful to them. So they were willing to hire me, but I had to do an audition since I didn't have any tape to give them of me doing baseball. I'd never done baseball. And so they let me do 4 games into a tape recorder. At the end of the 78 season, I did a 4-game series between the Rangers and the A's, coincidentally. And then Roy Parks, the guy who was the director of broadcasting for the city of Arlington, listened to the tape with Tom Vandergriff, the mayor of Arlington. And those were the 2 guys who decided on whether or not they should hire me to start the following year. And as they described it, Tom was a broadcasting major at USC, and he actually filled in some on the Ranger games when an announcer would miss a game. But they listened to the first couple of innings of the first game I did and the last couple of innings of the last game and saw how much better it sounded, after 4 games of doing baseball. It didn't sound like baseball on ice anymore. And they hired me based on that, a combination decision by the mayor and the broadcasting director for the city.
Wow. What a story. 1979, wow, to the present time. Boy, it's a great run for you, and it's a pleasure to have you on. I realize the Rangers have a lot of injuries, and we've talked about it on the show this morning quite a bit. Pitching-wise, though, they're really strong, and they've got reinforcements coming, but they need some hitting. But let's talk about Nathan Eovaldi today, because he gets to go against Ramos. I'm anxious to see the way he pitches Ramos today.
Yeah, the thing with Nate is he's such an incredible competitor, and I think he's really resourceful in the way he uses his pitches. The split is the great put-away pitch for him, but a lot of times you'll find guys up there, looking for the split, and he's able to get by, not throwing the split to him. And, he still gets the fastball up there 97 miles an hour. And he gets tougher and tougher when there are people on base. And, the Rangers feel really good when he's on the mound. He's truly their ace. He's the guy who went undefeated in the postseason. And, they really need a win today. They're about to head out on a road trip to face the Dodgers and the first-place Mariners. Historically, they don't play very well at Safeco, and we all know what it's like now going into Dodger Stadium, with the lineup they've got. So a win today, I think, is really important. And I am not one to focus on individual games in the first half of the season and saying, oh, this game is big, this game is big. But, I think this game does have more importance, than maybe just about any game they've played this year. They've got the Astros a half a game behind them now for second place. And, they need to win.
Well, the Astros come into San Francisco starting tomorrow. Let's touch on them just a little bit. We haven't seen them, of course, and I know that half their rotation is gone already for Tommy John surgery, and Tucker's on the injured list. What do we expect from the Astros this year?
It's a good question. We haven't seen them since the second week of the season. Rangers played them 7 times in the first 2 weeks of the season, and we haven't seen them since. So, they were awful when we saw them. Presley wasn't pitching well. Abreu wasn't pitching well, and Hader wasn't pitching well. The 3 guys at the back end of their bullpen were not going well. Well, that's turned around now, and that's made a huge difference for them. Obviously with all those starting pitchers hurt, they're using their bullpen more and more. And they have some guys who started hitting in the meantime. When we saw them, Bregman was ice cold. Tucker hadn't caught on fire yet. So, they're still the team that's got the most skins on the wall. And I think that, some people were overemphasizing the managerial change early in the year, saying that somehow, the change to Joe Espada from Dusty, had something to do with their bad start. That was hard for me to believe. They just weren't getting the kind of pitching they normally get, and they had some cold bats. So, I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with in this division by the time all is said and done. And obviously this isn't the strongest division in baseball. You've got one team that's over 500 and everybody else is at least 4 games under.
Well, you're a Brooklyn guy like me, so you've been to Ebbets Field, and I've been to Ebbets Field, and people say, well, when you were in Ebbets Field, did you ever think you'd be doing this? And I said, absolutely not. Did you ever think sitting in Ebbets Field watching one of those games that you'd be doing this today?
You know what? I was young enough at Ebbets Field, Marty. I was 6 the year the Dodgers left, and that was the first year my parents took me to games. And I don't think I was aware yet of baseball on the radio. But within a year or two after that, we were going to games at Yankee Stadium because it's all we had left after the Dodgers and the Giants departed. I heard a game that Mel Allen and Red Barber were doing, riding in the car with my dad. And I remember asking my dad, how they got off work so they could go do the broadcast of the game and go to Yankee Stadium. My dad said, no, that's their job. And my dad was a dentist. And I said, well, Dad, you're going to go and pull some teeth tomorrow, and these guys are going to go to Yankee Stadium. That's the kind of job that I want. And so I wanted to do it, but never in my wildest dreams did I conceive of, actually doing a World Series. And back then, too, it was, one guy from each team on the World Series. Right. So the Dodgers would play the Yankees, and, Scully would do half the game, and Mel Allen would do half the game.
I love that.
The thought of being there was just completely, inconceivable.
Well, you made it. You're one of the stars of broadcasting and a Hall of Famer as well. So it's a pleasure to have you on. It's great to catch up with you. We've got so much more to talk about. I'd love to get you on again, Eric. You've got a lot to share with the audience. So we'll do that. I appreciate it. Absolutely.
I'd love to. Thanks so much, Marty.
All right, what a pleasure. Eric Nadal, he is the play-by-play voice of the Texas Rangers. Great to have him on. So we'll see Nathan Eovaldi, big game for the Rangers, according to Eric today, and I agree. They need something positive out of this series. All right, more coming up. The professor, Ron Wotus, joins us next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, I love to talk about my good friends at Georgie Brothers Furniture. They've served the Bay Area for over 90 years. Their talented staff work as a team to help their customers find beautiful pieces of furniture to invest in. I've done it. The 50,000 square foot showroom is full of over 150 wonderful carpets, window coverings, and furniture manufacturers. Now, one of the most popular furniture lines that I love to talk about, you know it, is Stressless. Stressless makes high-quality, comfortable furniture, including sectional sofas, love seats, single reclining chairs, as well as the famous Stressless chair and ottoman. Here's the big news. Starting May 31st and running all the way until June 17th, there's a new Stressless promotion. It's really good. You can save $500 on every Stressless wing-style chair and ottoman in supple Paloma leather. That's Georgie Brothers Furniture. The showroom is in South San Francisco with free parking. Since 1933, the best source for home furnishings. Visit them at GeorgieBrothers.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you. Fans, Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheadle, Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
Time now to go to Sunday school with the professor.
Hey, Professor, take it easy, will you?
Giants coach Ron Wotus with Marty Laurie.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to get involved with the discussion, Mr. Helper.
On your home of Giants baseball.
Good answer. Like the way you think.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Brought to you by River Islands, one of the country's top-selling master plan communities just across the Altamont in Lathrop. Where else can you live on a lake next door to a park or walking distance to your kid's new school? With 10 new neighborhoods, River Islands is the one place you can't afford to miss.
All right, a pleasure to bring in the professor on this Sunday morning. Well, how are you?
I'm doing great, Marty. How you doing? Yeah, the show's been going a while this morning, huh?
Come on, Raph and I started at 7. He was there about 6. I was up at 5 or so, and you know it's Roku baseball. They're on Roku today, so that's the only way you can watch them.
Oh, geez, I didn't even realize that. You know, I just got used to the Apple TV, but now Roku, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch the game. That's frustrating for me.
Yeah, you got to find Roku somewhere and get that today. The game starts at 10 o'clock today. You know, we do this contest every week. You know, guess the score of the game. You win dinner for 2 at Original Joe's, and they do it at Baseball Marty on Twitter. And we have, over 200 people, do it each week. And you just never know what's going to happen with this ball club, All of a sudden they win 3 in a row, they lose 6 in a row. What is it about this club? Well, why are they inconsistent right now?
Well, I think the injuries have had a lot to do with that, and certainly the starting pitching has a lot to do with that, which is one of our strengths. But we've had some guys hurt. Obviously, Snell's hurt for the second time. Wynn went down, and replacing those guys, and it's hard to be consistent when you lose a couple starters out of your rotation, right? That's usually the one thing you can rely on. It's like Webb. Webb goes out there and he goes 7 innings, right, almost every time. But we just haven't gotten that consistency and length out of everybody else, and I think it starts there. Obviously, the offense has been, hot and cold, let's say. Certain guys, haven't been swinging up to their capability. Flores just started to get on a roll here with a couple home runs, playing a little bit more. So I think a combination of things, but, starting pitching sets the tone. And obviously the injuries, guys in and out of the lineup can cause some of that as well.
The game is, I don't want to say changed, but there's not a lot of offense in the game. And I mean that you look at the league average is 240, on base is 310 or something like that. Slugging is under 400. And that's throughout baseball. The pitchers throw harder. Starters are taken out earlier than the parade of the 98-mile-an-hour guys come in. Does it, do you have to play small ball now? I mean, is the bunt coming back in the game? Do you play for a run now instead of the big inning?
Well, I've seen, teams doing it here and there. And that's a really good question. I've always believed that situational hitting and scoring runs without, having to hit 3 hits in an inning, you get a walk, you steal a base, a 2-out hit. Or you get a guy to third, a guy hits a double, you move him over, sacrifice fly, and you score a run. When you pitch well and you play close games, those things matter. And, you're talking to a guy that really that was our MO. He never really pounded the ball, and I still believe in pitching and defense to set the tone and situational hit and scratch and claw to score runs. So, why not? The averages aren't there. And, it's hard to put your finger on why. We know the pitchers are throwing harder and, they're spinning the ball a little bit more. And, the National League used to be a fastball league, right? And the American League was all the off-speed stuff. But, Now it's one league, and there's a lot more off-speed pitches behind in the count as well. But, I think there's other things at play probably that lead to the hitting not being what it used to be.
What did you think of Matos going back to Sacramento? Now, you've seen him in Sacramento since he's there. How's he doing? And Slater is up, and Slater had a Slater game yesterday. He got the walk, and we'll talk Ramos in a second, and then he got the inside-out hit to right and eventually scored. So let's talk a little Matos-Slater.
Yeah, it's good to see, Slater have a day. You talked about the inconsistency. He was a big part of the club, always has been in that platoon situation for the last 5 years or so. So, now hopefully he can get going with Flo and Soler, and you'll have more consistent offense there. But it was a right move. Look, Matos had a heck of a week up there and played good baseball all in all for the Giants. But, Slater is a proven commodity, and it's too early in the year just to say, well, what are we going to do with Slater now? But Matos has options. He can go down. He'll be back up. We both know that. Everybody knows there'll be another injury or something will happen. And if performances, don't happen for the players that should do it, you have a guy like that waiting in the wings. So I saw him up in Sacramento the last couple days. He looks fine, doing his thing. He can hit. And it's always just minor adjustments. Even in the major leagues, I felt that he was up there. They started to pitch him a little different in the big leagues. They were pounding him in a lot more, and he was chasing a little bit more on the inside pitch, and that's really not his game. So, Damon Minor up there in Sac does a great job with the hitters, and guys seem to go down there and get on track, and they go back to the big leagues and have a little success. So he's in a good spot, and we know we'll need him at some point in time.
Well, Hunter Bishop is there, and I spoke to Keith Law yesterday, who's the guru of prospects and top 50 and all that kind of stuff in baseball. And I did throw Hunter Bishop at him. I said, look, the kid is now in AAA by necessity. And he gave him it's kind of a mediocre report. Well, what do you see with Hunter Bishop?
Well, this is the first time I've seen him other than spring training. I've been doing this job. This is my third year, but he's always been somewhere else or he's been injured. And I like what I see. Look, he definitely has bat speed and he has power.
Okay.
You watch him hit. So I just seen him play 3 games, and I think this guy has a real chance to be a decent hitter, and he can run too, and play the outfield and do some damage. So he's real intriguing to me. And I'm anxious to see him play more this summer because he hasn't played a lot of baseball. He's been hurt a lot, and now he's in AAA. And sometimes it takes guys a little bit longer, especially when they haven't had that games played. I mean, you mentioned Ramos. Look how he's turned the corner, really on a switch of a dime. He just boom. All of a sudden, for me, he really started, getting it. And whether it was maturity or having a kid or just understanding things better, and look what he's doing in the major league. So I'm excited to see more of Hunter Bishop. I think he's got a chance to help the Giants at some point.
Boy, good report on him. The athlete. You always told me this. Well, we've done the show for 15 years together. You always say athleticism will show, and it sounds like the kid's an athlete.
Yes, he is. I mean, he runs. It's something that we don't have a lot of. Who doesn't love speed in the outfield? He's quick on the bases. He's working on his base stealing, and there's a lot to work on. But he has the tools, and he's athletic, and the bat speed is definitely there. And that's going to be the tell of all these players is, can you make adjustments at the plate? And handle the pitching at the major league level, and that's what it's a game of. You can really tear it up in AAA, and some guys just don't ever make the jump to major league, being able to handle major league pitching because they're not able to make adjustments that they need to make.
What about Wisenhunt? We're always looking for more pitching, and you never know with injured pitchers coming back. And he's at Sacramento. What do you think about Wisenhunt? Did you get to see him?
Yes, I did, and I was excited to see him because I hadn't seen him, since San Jose, and he threw a nice game. I think that he's right where he needs to be, and I think there's no substitute for experience. You've heard me say it. Hopefully we don't have a need. We have a lot of injuries or guys aren't performing the way they're supposed to with the roster that we put together this year in the major leagues. I'm an advocate of letting these guys learn their craft in the minor leagues and, just not have a good month, have a good half a year and really learn who they are. I think players need to know who they are so when they go to the big leagues and they struggle a little bit, they have something to fall back on, and they've done it before. But, Wiz has an outstanding changeup. That's his bread and butter. His fastball command can improve. He throws in the low 90s to mid 90s, and he's got a little breaking ball that he's working on. He can improve the breaking ball. Obviously, that's I think his third pitch, which he's going to need. He can get by in the minor leagues with a fastball and a changeup because his changeup is so good. And if you locate that fastball and you throw that great changeup, you can get guys out. But guys will start sitting on that pitch in the major leagues, and you need somewhat of a breaking ball, a third pitch, if you're going to be a starter in the Major League Baseball.
All right, the professor. Great report on this Sunday morning. Good. Well, you're hot. It's early. It's Sunday morning. You got it together. I like it.
Well, it was hot. It was hot in Sacramento. Let me tell you, it was over 100 degrees, so maybe it rubbed off on me.
Come on, I got the heat dome here in Arizona, so we're looking at 107 to 110. So we got that going on. One question, a very quick question before we have to get out of here at 9:05. I was watching a video, old baseball manager, great manager, Paul Richards, and he was instructing the pitchers how to cover first base, in the 3-1 put out, and he said, run right to the bag, don't angle down the line and come up to the side of the bag, run right to the bag and then get the bag at the last second. Is that the way you do it?
Well, you want to take a little bit of an angle, but you don't want to take a big, banana angle, right? Because you're wasting time getting over there. But, if you go straight to it, you're really going to have to hit the bag and then change direction. Or if your momentum takes you, you're going to run right through the bag. And if the runner's right there, you guys are going to collide. So you do want to take a little bit of an angle, and you got to know, like, an infield, you got to know how much time you have, who's running on how much you take that angle so you don't collide with the runner going to first base. So we prefer our guys to take a little bit of an angle there so you don't have a collision with the runner.
All right, I like it. All right. Hey, River Islands, this is a good time to talk about the Del Webb community. You can sign up for it, the adult community within River Islands. Well, it's going to be a big deal in the fall.
Yes, it is. Just another improvement to River Islands. A lot of people like to have that type of community. We have a lot of your peers in the same neighborhood. It's good for, being social with your neighbors, et cetera, et cetera. So, they're really looking forward to it, and it's really going to add to them. And I bet you a lot of these guys in that Del Webb community are probably like a little Priest wine as well, don't you think?
Hey, come on, man. We're going to the Priest Ranch Wine Tasting Room, you and I, July 8th, 5:30 to 7:30. We're going to take this show on the road. How about that?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We've done it before, and now, we can have a nice lunch up there at the kitchen that Priest Ranch has just added to the tasting room. It's a rooftop, and Marty, I got a chance to look at the menu, and it looks fantastic. So I'm excited to go up and taste their food and definitely have their wine. Maybe you'll do the caviar tasting this time, Marty. A little caviar and wine for you instead of the bacon.
Hey, if I'm bringing beer cans, she's having it. So trust me, that's gonna happen. All right. Hey, have a great Sunday. Good to talk with you. Well, enjoy Sunday.
All right. Stay cool down there in Arizona, Marty.
All right. Be well. All right. This day in Giants history coming up next, right here in the Sports Leader.